Hello, year 8, and welcome to your next lesson in geography. This is actually the final China lesson we've got here today, continuing the theme of how economic development has been, in the past at least, put ahead of environmental issues in China. We're going to have a look at one more example of that. To begin with, I'd like you to have a look at the picture on the screen. Probably the best known example of a Chinese animal. If you think of China's animals, probably are going to think panda straight away, and you can see there in the sort of bamboo forests. Little task to get your brain working first though. See how many pandas you can find in this image, and yes, there are more than 2. So just have a quick skim at it, work out how many there are, jot down how many you've seen, and I'll give you the answers on the next slide. Pause the video now. So here we go, 8 or maybe even 9 pandas. As what I can find anyway. Please let me know if you found any others that I have missed. I've circled all the ones in red. One with a question mark, to me, kind of looks a little bit like, if I put the laser pointer on, this looks like a nose. Here's the nose ridge. Here's the face. Is this a mouth here? Is this a sort of face? I can't really see an eye though or anything. Maybe this is it here or here. I don't know. But anyway, I wasn't so sure on that one. So I went with 8, or maybe if you include that one, 9. I'll take either of them. So there we go. Good spotting. Well done. And let's move on. So the title for today is What are the conservation issues in China? And we're going to really skim the surface on this, just having a look at a few specific examples of conservation issues. If you're not sure what that means, well, we'll come to that in a minute. So make sure you've got the equipment. Please write the title, underline it, question mark at the end, put the date, and read through those 3 objectives. Pause the video. We'll move on to the next slide now. Okay, so the word conservation, what does it mean? Well, it's the protection of natural environments and the communities that inhabit them, that live in them. The picture on the screen is a kind of classic image when you type in conservation into an image search or something like that. The idea of someone holding a plant, representing that it's about people intervening and protecting nature, putting our hands around it, looking after it, making sure it's healthy and thriving, and that we're not doing anything too terrible to destroy it. So copy that sentence down. One more key term coming up, which is biodiversity. Conservation aims to protect biodiversity and to increase it. What does it mean? Well, it means the variety of plant and animal species found somewhere. You can see on the screen an image. This shows a touch of the biodiversity found in certain parts of the world. You can see it's all about all the different plants and animals that are found there, and it's the difference between them. There could be lots and lots of one animal, but that would be a very low biodiversity. Biodiversity is about lots of different species, and that is considered better to have lots of species. The ecosystem, the environment is going to be a lot healthier as a result. So copy that sentence down and we'll move on. Okay, so there's a link here to a newspaper article. There's a video at the very top, and then there's some writing below it. I'd like you to start by spending the 7.5 minutes watching the video. To give you a heads up, what you're going to be doing in a minute is thinking about different people and different people's opinions on what's going on here. This is all about golf courses, and it's about building in places where some people would argue maybe golf courses shouldn't be being built. And you'll see both sides of the story here, and in a minute you're going to be thinking of different people's opinions on this. So watch it carefully, pay attention to it. You can always come back to it later as well to re-watch parts should you need to. But for now, just watch it through. So pause this video here and watch that one. Okay, here's another slide that I'm not going to read through, but I will leave for you to pause to take information from should you need it. And I'd like you to use some of these. These are quotes from the article. You can by all means read through the whole article. The whole article goes into detail on the video, and it will help to remind you of some of the points. But I've picked out a few key points here about what's going on. So anyway, like I said, I'm not going to read through it. This is for you to pause on and go back to pick out some facts for the next task. So I'm going to move on to the next slide now. Here we go, this task. So imagine that you are interviewing people for a news report on the planned golf courses in China. Write a short quote of at least 2 sentences for each of the following people. A wealthy business owner who wants to live in the area. First thing to think of is, would a wealthy business owner who wants to live there like the idea of a golf course or not? And once you've got that decision made, then you can start creating a quote. Remember, a quote is something that they would say, you put in quotation marks, something that they would say if you ask them what their opinion is. Then you're going to do the same for a member of a conservation group in China, and finally, a member of the local government. So we should have 3 quotes of at least 2 sentences each, getting to grips with what you think those people will think about these new golf courses. Include evidence from the video and the article. So I want you to try to get in as much as you can to convince me, show me that these people actually know what they're talking about. There's no point in them just saying, oh, I think it's a really good idea, full stop. Why? So what? Why is it a good idea? How's it going to benefit them? Or why don't they like it? What are the problems with it? Try to actually explain in this task. Get writing that now, and then we shall move on. Pause the video now. Okay, so here are some bullet-pointed ideas. This isn't the answer, this isn't what you should have done, but these are the kind of things I've come up with that you may have written about in your quotes. If they're different, but they're still based on the article, then don't worry. Maybe I've missed something here. But generally, the wealthy business owner will likely to be for the project. They'll like it. They'll have the money to play golf, so they'll be able to benefit from the social experience of playing golf there. It makes the area more attractive for them to live in. Plus, it also raises the property prices. Now, that could be seen as a negative because it's more expensive now to live there. But if you're already wealthy, that's probably not an issue. The point here is that only the wealthy elite can live there. So your neighbors are going to be similarly wealthy to you, perhaps into the same things as you. Maybe they're going to go play golf with you. Whereas if someone who was on the poorer end, on the lower income in China, moved in, well, maybe these people aren't going to like it as much, or at least they think they wouldn't like it as much. So it's quite elite here. Next one, a member of a conservation group in China. They're likely, well, they definitely will be against the project. There's no likely to be here. They won't like this. Whatever they've said will be negative. It reduces biodiversity. It destroys the habitats or the homes of animals and plants. It pollutes the water supply. Pesticide use, chemicals are increased, and hopefully you've found from the video and the article why those are problems. Conservationists are going to hate this idea. Plus the fact that this is all inside what is supposed to be a protected conservation area. And finally, a member of the local government is likely to be for the project. It's going to create jobs for people in construction and in the golf course itself, and in the houses and in all the other things around. So that's great for the government. That's the kind of thing the government want to push and want to create. As a result, it'll also increase the amount of tax paid. These wealthy people are going to move in. They're going to be paying, the equivalent that we have of council tax. They're going to be improving the area as far as the money goes. So once again, there's a theme here, isn't there? Just like the last few lessons, it's all about money and jobs over the environment. A theme for Chinese development over the last few decades. Okay, let's move on. So attached as well, there's 3 articles. 3 articles I'd like you to read through. Quite a lot of reading today, but that's fine. It's always good to do a bit of reading. That's how mostly we learn information. So the task, though, pretty simple. I just want you to summarize what each article is saying in a short paragraph. So read the first article, summarize it, and then write 1 sentence, conservation is needed, with reference to that article as, or because, or for, or whatever. You can change that word as, to explain why conservation is needed to improve the situation that you just read about. And you're going to work through that 3 times. So this shouldn't take too long. I've put there 30 minutes. Really, it might take you less than that, depending on reading speed. If you're finding that time is dragging on and 10 minutes is up and you still haven't finished even reading the first article, well, perhaps for the other 2, maybe just read the first half, maybe just read the first part, just to get a general idea of what it's about, and then write the summary from there. Okay, pause the video now and get cracking with that. Okay, so here's some possible answers. I'm not going to read through these. You can read them yourself. This is to help you in case you're missing any information. You can jot some of this down to add to your points. But there we go. I've got the general idea of all 3 there. Hopefully what you found out is it's all about specific animal species and how they are being misused or endangered in the way that they're being kept, treated, or other things going on around them. The idea being that all of these animals need conservation. Conservation is really important, or these animals are going to disappear, and the biodiversity of China is going to decrease. Okay, last task then. So people in China need to focus more on conservation because I'd like you to copy and complete that sentence just as a really neat little summary for this lesson. You could finish it in 1 or 2 sentences. That's it. There's a few key terms at the bottom there that we've come across so far. Remember, biodiversity is the number of different species of plants and animals in an area. Habitat is the home of an animal. You would consider that its habitat. The environment is anything about your surroundings. And endangered meaning that there's a threat to a particular animal or plant species. If they're endangered, it means that, well, they may become extinct if they're not looked after, if conservation does not happen. So to finish, copy and complete that sentence or that short paragraph, and that is the end of this lesson, and in fact the end of the Chinese topic. We're going to move on to start looking at some more human geography based around the concept of sustainability, sustainable cities, in the next few lessons. Looking forward to that. So take care, be safe, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye.